Hi and welcome everyone. It's Varleigh at Lavender Sky Panther with you on Saturday, July 4th, 2026. And I just want to say, hey, Rita, you're first up. Welcome into the chat. Good to see you. Yeah, it took a bit to get this thing started. The internet, not the internet, but the platform was a little bit glitchy, but I think we'll hold. As per usual, if I get cut off at any point of this, I'll just jump back on right away and I'll put part two and we'll just get going. So this show should be interesting. If you see the title, it sure did surprise me that this was the topic up for this weekend. Desert Mermaids and Fairies Fair. And I'll put up the cover. And just so you can see where I'm going with it, I know usually we associate pinks and purples and sparkly things with fairies and, greens and blues with the mermaids. But the cover wanted to be black and white, pure and simple. We'll get into a lot of color slides coming up. But on this side, this is actually taken from a classical painting, and I just turned it black and white. This is taken from my own analysis on a real fairy footage at a cave in Greece called Hades Cave. And YouTube channel Sugar Seas, she first identified in the footage that there was even a fairy present. And I took that further and do what I do with my enhancements, like I do with Cloak and Craft, to pull out a lot of details. So we're going to get into it more too. But this is the overall fairy. You can see, it's the back of her neck, her head, her face, her arm coming out, flowing, gown, very balletic, ballet pose like. And then this is a zoom in on another part of the show where we get into detail, where you can even see her face, her profile, the side of her jaw, like a fairy crown, a bun sticking out in the back and little flora coming off of her crown. And when I brought this classical painting into black and white, I'm like, oh my goodness, we've got the same, profile and the hair flowing back. So I have slides coming up to show that in more detail. But I just wanted to let you know where we'll be going with this a little bit. And while we're at it, let me tell you where we're going with all of this. And then you can plan a snack or a drink break maybe if you need to. The order of this show is going to be talking about the real fairy I just showed you. We're going to go into a little bit more detail just on one slide, and then I'll refer you to the actual video that I did that's in my list of videos. So we're going to talk about a real fairy spotted, analysis of it, photographic evidence and analysis of it. Then we're going to go look at some depictions of fairies. Think about it. What's the first thing that comes to your mind if you just close your eyes a minute? When I say fairy, what's the image you get? How old is it? The fairy being, and what type. There's so many types. We'll get into that in a minute too. So there's a lot of depictions of fairies in the museums, especially in the 1800s. It seemed to be a muse, a very popular muse to paint. And also modern fairies. We'll get into that too, some illustrations of modern fairies. Modern illustrations of fairies, I should say. Then we're going to look at some paintings also on an oracle deck card some cards that I have. They're coming from the Enchanted Art Oracle cards, and they show the classical paintings of fairies and mermaids. So if you're into both fairies and mermaids and you like card decks, that'll be one I'll recommend for you. It's very prettily done. Then we'll look at, we'll get into mermaids and mermaids art depicted as well. Same thing, classical paintings. They were also a subject, a muse, all these beautiful mermaids and done in all different ways in classical paintings. And then we'll hop into some real life stuff, some real live locations. So we'll look at Namibia. There's a desert there, and they have these supposedly mysterious fairy rings all strewn across the desert. And for any of these things that I'm mentioning, I've posted a lot of stuff this week in my post section, because as I was coming across some of these things that were new to me, like I never heard of fairy rings in Namibia. I've heard of them in other places. Just have a look down in my post section, because this show in particular, there was so much information just kind of crowding in that I'm going to defer to the post section if you want to really dive deeply. So I said this is a light snorkel, not a deep dive. I'm going to drop and go on some interesting topics, interconnect them where appropriate. And then if you want to learn more, I'll send you to links that I was looking at that I would like to dive in more deeply to. Also, okay, so after we look at the Namibia fairy rings, that's in South Africa. We're going to go over to the Kango Caves in the Valley of Karoo, which is also in South Africa, where there are actual depictions on cave rock of mermaids. Okay, that's going to be interesting. And there's a really fascinating link in my post section which takes it on the spiritual level, where they're talking to locals, like local shaman or shaman, however you like to say it, and all of the lore and stories that have come before of, their ancestors talking about seeing actual mermaids, nothing, fabricated, in some of these rivers. It's just like saying, hey, there's a tree over there. Yeah, they've seen the mermaids. Then we have, we're going to jump over. Oh, then we're going to also talk about, I don't know if any of you saw this, but I did in 2013. So let's go back to, 13 years back. Any of you familiar with Animal Planet? I never really watched the show, but I think that's, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's where Steve Irwin was shown, like a lot of his stuff on that channel, I think. There were a couple, so I can't remember. A couple of those kinds of, like Discovery Channel kind of things. Anyway, in 2013, they released, and there's still some places you can find it on YouTube, a 6-part movie, okay, which they were calling like a documentary about mermaids, and it's called, it'll be coming up in the show, I think it's called Mermaids the Body Found, and we're going to get into that too. So when that quote unquote documentary came out, the thing is that it was, now that I look at it, what was, sorry, let me go back. Sorry, I got so much on my mind. There's so much to share, and it's so exciting about all this stuff. When I first saw this Animal Planet thing about mermaids, the way it was crafted, let's just say, is it was portrayed like this is a real, documentary. The thing about it was that, Animal Planet before that time was releasing just your typical, oh, look, here's this guy, wrangling a crocodile. Oh, here's this over here. And it was just all the nature stuff. This was the first time that broke tradition with that, to my knowledge, where it was just so off kilter from what they normally do, like radically different, that helped people really buy into and believe that the entire thing of the documentary of these mermaids was true. Now, when I was watching it, I was freshly having my initial great awakening, spiritual awakening. And I was like, wait a minute, I need to keep an open mind to this. Most people would say at that time, oh, that's just, that's fake, that's just, before even fake became a big word back then, oh, that's not true. They're just faking it. Later on, it was even dubbed a mockumentary, etc. So, but without knowing all the after backlash that would come after that thing aired, I watched it. It has a little creepy vibe to it, or mysterious dark vibe, in the sense of like dark in the depths, like everything is filmed where it's literally dark, like you just see backlit shadows and stuff. So it's hard to like really see some stuff, but that's how they crafted the art of presenting this, mermaid documentary. Well, when I watched the whole thing, even way back then, not knowing what I know now, what all of us are knowing now, and finding in these truth-seeking and truth-finding communities, my intuitive hit, even back then, was like, oh, wow, okay, you can tell they're reenacting this whole thing. You can tell some of it's a put-up. But back in the day watching it, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. There are like 2 or 3 scenes that hit my intuitive meter where I'm like, oh, shoot. I was going to say another word. Oh, shoot. We'll say it family friendly. That was real. There's bits of it that are real. So what do we know now? Fast forward 13 years later, that things are disclosed kind of willy-nilly. They throw in like 1% truth while we're looking at, 99%, smoke and mirrors. Well, back then, there were about 3 scenes, and I'll tell you what they are when we get to my little slides here, that I was like, that rings as true. That looks like authentic footage that they're mixing into the story, like this, ooh, it's real, and then it's, not. So the backlash that came after they debuted this series, or it was like I think one sitting you watched it. I think they've broken it up into 6 parts. When you watch that whole thing, you're left with like, whoa, wait a minute. And if you're somebody like me, it was like the first door to open a little crack open to, wait a minute, is there validity to mermaids being real? Now, because of that show, whether you believe it's real or not, I tend to believe, yes, it is. And I'll tell you why coming up in the slides. That was like the first like aha moment where, wow, I really need to look at this. Let's not just dismiss that, oh yeah, mermaids, yeah, yada, 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 they don't exist. Oh, heck yeah, I think they do. So one of the scenes, and I'll get to the slide coming up, is they show in the quote unquote mockumentary, but I believe it was trying to be a documentary, and I believe it was put out to see how the public would react. a lot of people got freaked the heck out. A lot of people were kind of scared by it, to the point that apparently NOAA, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Agency, put out a statement and like forced, supposedly, I think they're all on the same team, but forced Animal Planet to say, hey, this wasn't real, whatever. But even though there are kernels of reality within it, as far as what they were presenting on TV. Okay. Anyway, we'll get into all of this coming up, but to the point that government agencies had to put out public statements saying it wasn't real, I think there's a there, right? They wouldn't get involved if it's like, oh, that's just entertainment. They could have easily said, that's just entertainment, don't worry about it. But they made a very serious effort to just mock it and call it, to the point where they're calling it a mockumentary. So I'm here to say, watch it on your own. It took me a while to find some links of the full show. So if you want that, email me. I don't do anything with your email. I'm just saying it because I don't want to put it in my description area, because I don't want whoever to take it down because it took a long time to find it. I think you can go to, and I'm not promoting them at all. I haven't even looked at it other than this thing, what I'm telling you. But if you go to Animal Planet on one of their sites or whatever, I think you can pay for it, but you can also find it for free online still, but you got to really dig. But anyway, enough said about that. But that is actually in part responsible for the Desert Mermaids of this show to come through, because I thought back of that show when I was thinking of mermaids, and I thought of the cave paintings, and that kicked up a whole thing for the mermaid side of depictions, how things are drawn and illustrated. Not only now for the mermaids, but even before the mermaid topic came up, the fairies were coming through at first. And I'm like, oh, I guess we're doing a show on fairies. And then it morphed into, whoa, wait, mermaid energy wants to come in too. And I'm like, okay, I'm not a huge, aficionado of either. I mean, I appreciate all of the elementals and fair and mare folk, but it's not like my jam. You know what I mean? I'm not like all in. I could be, but I just never really give it much thought. So I found it kind of funny that these themes are coming up. Now, sure, I have some oracle and tarot decks I'll show at the end of the show with beautiful depictions of fairies and mermaids, but it wasn't like, ooh, I'm a fangirl of it. I just appreciate it, right? So anyway, I'm just saying that because it's kind of funny to me that these energies came through so strong, and there's always a reason, right? Now, as I was first thinking of this Animal Planet and the cave depictions of this, documentary, I was watching another YouTube channel, and they happened to be talking about this topic of the Animal Planet came up. So that was over at, if you know it, Barry Littleton was a guest on the show, Jessica Jones's The Cryptid Huntress. And then he started talking about it. I'm like, wait, I was getting a show together on this too. So it's funny how, something's going on in the collective consciousness to bring this theme forward. So, okay, enough about that. A little too chatty. I'm trying to warm up to doing this show live. Anyway, so we talked about, the caves in Karoo, and that's in South Africa, the Animal Planet I just talked about. And then we're going to move on up to Egypt, also on the continent of Africa, up in the northeast corner there. And there's also a place called the Cave of Swimmers. And if I say it right, it's Wadi Sura. And it's in a desert where apparently they filmed part of the movie, if you know it, The English Patient. I remember seeing it way back when. I wasn't really a fan, but apparently some of the setting was done in and around there. Okay, so that's kind of where we're headed with everything. Now, before I get to the first slide, and I'll try to pick up the pace here. My tongue is like a little bit tongue-tied. I'm trying to work through it. Before we get into the first slide showing the real fairy footage, and I'll give you the references there of where to look to find the motion video. I'm just going to show you zoom ins on photos that I've enhanced as well, and the originals, that type of thing. But let's just talk about it. So I asked you, just for fun, I'm asking myself the same question. If you close your eyes and I say, what do you think of when I say the word fairy? Can you picture one? Do you imagine the colors or the age or, male, female, whatever? Just kind of think about that and hold on to it. Same thing goes for if I say mermaid or merman or merfolk. What kind of imagery do you come up with? And try to get any emojis out of your head, trying to pre-program you on it, because there's some of them in there. Just, what do you think? Just feel it out. So that's just a question for you to think of. Okay, well, apparently there are more than 30, I'm sure there are more than 30 fairy types. And in my post section, I do include a little blog site that lists them. I'm just going to read a short list of them, just like ones that jumped out to me. And this is more when I say them for everyone just to listen to it and see if any little bells ring, or, just feel like something like, what's that? I'd like to check on it further, right? So this is just like drop and go information for perhaps you'd like to use it as a springboard to investigate further. But I was just jotting it down. So there are many categories. So there's going to be ones that are outdoors and in the forest and the elementals. There's going to be ones that pertain just to water, bodies of water. There'll be others that are in your house. Everyone knows like the trickster effect of, where is this? I'm missing my, just a random thing, I'm missing my watch. And then, you go back and you're the only one in the house, and then boom, it's there again. You come back a little bit later. There's a trickster effect. So, because we're talking about things that are in like the forest and sea realms, but all of these kind of mystical creations, we'll just say, beings can utilize, most of them can utilize portals, whether that's literally with the cave openings or other types of openings in the water and down below or down in tunnels or whatnot. And other fairies too that just can come and go, shift in and out interdimensionally, much like Sasquatch can do. So there's a lot to that. But anyway, let me read the list. So see if anything interests you. Brownies, banshees, pixies, elves, leprechauns, gnomes, knockers, bogarts, dryads, naiads, sorry. And I don't know how you say this, but I think it's Elilon. I think it's a Welsh name. Okay, Azrai, Alvin, Spriggans, Trolls, and Changelings. And there are many, many more. Okay, I always found that interesting. The one that jumps out to me personally is Changelings. Sounds very interesting. Okay, and then before we get into the slides too, I'm going to get this out of the way so I don't forget at the end. I'm just going to read out what the crystals of this show are, the energies of them, and I'll hold some up quickly at the end, because for whatever reason, we've had a big Lemuria, Mu themes coming up in the last weeks. I tend to hold up some of the same ones again and again lately, but hopefully those of you returning don't tire of it, and those who are new, it's new for you. And if I didn't say it already, again, I'll say it. If I didn't say it, okay, originally, heartfelt thanks for being here and welcome, whether you're just hopping in new or you're returning. So big hugs all around. Okay, so the crystals are going to be, for the sea part of it, orca agate. I have a carved, I'll hold this up now, I'll hold up the other ones later. I have a carved shell, and I'm showing this one because it's Capricorn, because that's known as the sea goat. Actually, they're just depicting it as goat, but normally the sea goat, would have the tail of like a mermaid, right, or fish. But somebody has taken it upon themselves to carve this little shell. I forget the name of this. Someone out there might know it. Okay, then also Caribbean. I might as well just do this as I go. I'll put the orca agate up in a minute. But you've seen this one before, but I love it. It's the ocean or Caribbean calcite. And this particular specimen, it looks like swirls. It looks like there's beach sand, grit in there. It looks like sea foam and swirling seas. And as I've explained before, bear with me if you're back, but some of these are really beautiful. This is a palm stone, the shape. Some have like a matrix, so it's like all brownish color, like it looks like sand. If you're lucky, you get a white stripe that looks like the sea foam, and the rest is kind of blue like the ocean. So there are a lot of beautiful ones out there. Also zoisite and ruby and zoisite. So we have a heart here of zoisite. That's found in Tanzania and Africa. Okay, and the ruby and zoisite, I think this is the one that's only found. I might be wrong on this, but this one might be the one that's only found in not Tanzania, but Zanzibar, just off to the east, on the east coast of Africa. Or I might have flip-flopped that around. But anyway, it's kind of greenish stone, and when there's ruby in it, you just see it's a little raspberry color. And then otherwise, it's just the black and the green. Very pretty, though. So to me, that was just because we're going to be talking about Africa and fairies, mermaids. At a certain point, to me, they're just mystical, magical beings. So I kind of almost think of, even though I know it's not exactly the same, it's, to me, I'm just feeling for the show, since they so much wanted to come in together, is that a mermaid is almost just like a fairy of the seas in a way. Okay, well, let's get into the slides. And and I didn't mention it, feel free to hop in the chat or not at your leisure. Doesn't matter to me. It's actually, when I say that, it does matter. It just, I don't want anyone to feel pressured, but it is fun when you jump in, because a lot of people can bring up some interesting points, which helps bring the energy, even better energy to the show. And I want to say welcome to Sarah T. Great to see you. She says, hi, Varleigh. Hi, everyone. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the fairies. Oh, so when I say if you jump in the chat, feel free as always. I have some slides I'm going to go over first, but feel free to chime in with anything related to the topic or unrelated, doesn't matter. But anything, all good things, high vibed. Okay, so here's the first slide up. And so these images over here are coming from my show number 177, and it's called Sky Mysteries. And so I'm going to just focus on this part. So this is the part that I talked about. This is stills from actual footage, and I'll zoom in a little the old-fashioned way. If you look at this one right here, okay, this image, you can see it looks humanoid, but in the original footage, that was happening in front of a cave called Hades Cave in Greece. And that was the footage flagged by fellow YouTuber Sugar Seas, and I'll link her channel there and the original footage. And that was from her show saying yes, or she said, sorry, her show is called Fairies Are Real. And I happened to see that, and I was like, wait a minute, she's showing freeze framing what looked like otherwise like a moth. It just, if you looked for a second, there's something flying in front of this cave. There's branches. It's a sunny day. It looks pretty hot and dry. And you just see something flittering in front. But the more you look, and Sugar Seas did an excellent job identifying this and highlighting it, she zoomed in, and the flight pattern starts to look a little funky, not like a typical moth or butterfly or anything like that. And remember, this is in broad daylight, pure daylight, sunshine. And just to clarify, it wasn't at night or anything. So this thing is just fluttering along, but the flight pattern, there's no way it looks like a natural like insect. So then she zoomed in further, and I mean, that's when you see this image. It's a humanoid. It's not like these are just like insect legs, because then we look up here. So I started to do some enhancements and try to pull out, what are we dealing with here? And then you see an arm, you see legs, you see even a chest, you see a head, and you see the wings. So that's what I was first starting up. Sorry, I don't know if you can see that. Sorry. So that's what I first started to see. And in this one, it really got me because that's a head. So then I started doing multiple, screenshots throughout the footage that she had highlighted. And then I got to this one. And again, go look at my show number 177 for the full, breakdown of this in the first 10 minutes of the show. So then I'm like, oh my gosh, I rotated this because it was, the back was like toward the ground. So I rotated it up so you could see. We can see the face, like I explained earlier, the back of the head, the neck, an arm coming around and flowing down, and two legs. And then we move in further and we see, her head, her face, and all of that until we get to here. So what I've done over here, and again, just go look at that other show. It explains everything far better than what I'm doing here. But from the cover, I took the cover of the classical painting of a mermaid and brought it to more or less the same size as the real footage of the real fairy that I caught on the footage. And you can just see, look at the profile of this painting done by a classical painter. And then you see the profile here, her nose, lips, chin. And she's wearing some kind of band or crown. Her hair is flowing back. She's got this crown. And in the show, it's much more detailed. And she's got these little, flora hanging off of her little leaf crown or whatever's on her head. So anyway, this is to prove fairies are real. I'm 1,000% convinced. See, if you aren't, go look at the show. You might change your mind. Also, in the course of over 6 years of doing the cloak and craft observations, sky observations, I did have one or two photos with something in it I can't explain. It's not an orb. It has a weird energy signature on it, like a very ephemeral, ethereal, I want to say, kind of like a glow. And in one of the pictures, it actually had like the traditional classical shape of a fairy, but I just missed it because I wasn't open yet to all of this. I'm like, wait, that's a fairy. I'm like, no, that's just a trick. Yeah. And then I just forgot about it. And I would have brought it up for the show, but it's going to take me too long to dig into my archives for it. But I will eventually pull it out because I was just like, no, that can't be a fairy. And that was my first little, whatever fairy folk were showing me in my camera. Yeah, we're here. I just wasn't ready to really accept it with open arms. But now I am. Anyway, you might find some weird stuff happening in your cameras these days too. not just with cloak and craft like I show, not just, I don't know, you might catch some kind of interesting beings or light sources or orbs flaring up, but you might also catch things that look more like a humanoid than not. And don't be afraid. That's my message. Okay, so now we're going to get to the portion of the show where I searched the internet and I was just doing a search on classical paintings with fairies. Okay, in museums. Actually, I made the distinction in museums because I just wanted to see what's out there. And there is a ton, like I said, especially in the 1800s, huge topic, for them to cover. And also, I'm going to show in here, I'm not going to spend too much time on this one, but it is a part of the title with the Fairies Fair. At first, I was implying, oh, just how they're depicted as beautiful. And, like they say, fair is lovely, is beautiful. But also, oh my goodness, I'm sure some of you know about it. All of the Renaissance fairs, people do the reenactments. You dress up as whatever you want from medieval times, through the Renaissance times. It's kind of like open. I've been to a Ren fair once, Renaissance fair, and they even had like Lord of the Rings Day, Harry Potter Day, like it goes all over the place, and Fairy Day. So some people really get into it and do beautiful costumes. So I also put that on my post section. I went through and I just posted 10 really beautiful examples of people who did a nice job, dressing up as a fairy. And so anyway, here we go. And so anyway, here is just an example of a real life woman who dressed up as a fairy. She's got the toadstool hat and a huge dandelion or some kind of flower, large scale, to emphasize the fact that she's smaller. So I thought that was really prettily done. And here I'm just going to cover some of the classics on this side, and then we'll get to modern. So these are some images you may have already be familiar with. They just kind of caught my attention, where we have, some kind of like a magical, mystical flair to it. In here too, moving through the forest. We have nighttime. There's a lot of nighttime scenes with fairies. One I didn't include here, but like one is like flying on an owl. One is flying on a bat. Here's another fairy skipping along. One lying in a field of irises, I think. Here's one by some steps. Okay. And then we're going to get to somebody in the audience here. So we have beautiful drawings, illustrations by Sarah T. And I'll just zoom in a bit. These are on her Instagram, and I'll link that in the description area below. But she's got a beautiful palette, beautiful energy with her fairies as well. And actually, I think I'll read off the site so I don't forget. I won't forget, but sometimes it takes me a while to put it in the description area after the show. So Sarah's Instagram is @Sarah_quantum_healing. And she's got some photos and videos there, so go check it out. And thank you, Sarah T, for saying that I could put it on the show. So check it out. Oh, and Rita has a comment. I think of fireflies and that fairies might look, I think of fireflies and that fairies might look like when flying around. Also think of a human-looking type dragonfly, LOL, if that makes sense. LOL, it sure does, and no LOLs on that. Definitely, I do too. Fireflies, and I've heard that some people, as you're looking up in the, oh, here, Sarah says you're welcome. Yeah, Sarah T, thanks. And I didn't spend as, I might show it again after this a little bit more clear because my hands might be a little shaky with this. But as you look up in trees or whatever, and you're looking at fireflies, yeah, really study them, because a lot of people, I've heard a lot of people report that they kind of, you're seeing a firefly, but then it might morph and change and look a little more humanoid. So yes, those can be fairies, I guess. Like I said, remember on my little list of reading off the fairies, just to show you, I have like all these notes all over the place. Changeling jumped out to me, and I don't know if that's part of the changeling lore or if that's more of it changes into an animal or whatever, but to me, absolutely kind of like a shape-shifting or changing ability. Fireflies really, work in well with that. So I'm totally on board with that. And fire and dragonfly too, for that matter. They really do have the same vibe if you think about it, especially since they are of the elemental realm. And some of the pictures I'll show later, you'll see some, if it's the nymph or, the ones that hang out by the water, there's that energy. So it makes sense, like dragonflies over the water, or in the wood. It's just really amazing. It's a fascinating topic in and of itself. But we are going to move away from that topic and get into, and I don't know, this probably should have been 2 shows, but something said, nope, they're going together on this. And sorry, not to embarrass anyone, but Sarah, I just want to hold this up a little bit better, give you better credit. So if you see over here where it says Sarah T, so just, I really love the mood and the feeling captured and the energy, beautiful energy she puts into her drawings. So again, if you have any questions, I want to check out more, go see her Instagram. Okay. All right, now let's look at depictions like classical paintings type in museums of the mermaids. Now, what do we know about mermaids? We're back to that question. Close your eyes if you want or not. I'll do it. For me, what's the first thing you imagine in your mind's eye when I say mermaid or merman or merchild or merfolk? And what kind of energies, what kind of colors, come to your mind? Are you deep in the water? Are you shallow? What I'm going to talk about later is there's some reports of fishermen encountering all kinds of crazy stuff, especially the deep sea fishermen, because why wouldn't they? If something's going to exist, it's more likely going to be way out deep in the ocean, just, going about its business. If it's somewhere closer to where people are, we can encounter these things, but maybe a little less so, because what do we know? They read our energies, and we have pretty strong, loud energies. Even if we're kind of quiet person, we come out, we're not expecting anything, and, startle whatever beings are out there. So they have really no cause to hide themselves if they're in the deep ocean. What are the chances some fisherman randomly is going to pick them up in a net, right? So we're going to get to an example of, is this true or not, with that coming up in the show. So anyway, what do you imagine? And we know mermaids, what? The way they're depicted, classically painted, they might have red hair, they might have blonde hair, gold blonde hair, black, brown, reddish brown, any number, right, of hair types. Now, what is a mermaid? I didn't ask what is a fairy. There's just so many types. Maybe we can talk about it in the future if they want to come back through in a show of mine. And otherwise, look on your own, of course. But what is a mermaid? Is a mermaid truly like a human looking? And if you're a female or if you're a merman, it applies to you. Would you look in the mirror if you're a mermaid and see what we see, like a human, total, like just like this, but we happen to have a tail? Or, this is coming up in the show, kind of freaked me out a bit, but it's kind of fun. Or is the face something else, a little more, I'll throw it out there because it just shocked me at the end, little like spoiler on my own show. Or does it have more of like a marine mammal face, possibly with like a hair? Maybe it has more of like a dolphin-like face, or a little bit of mix of a human hybrid fish and human face. Perhaps the mermaids' faces aren't exactly what we think. Maybe they're not this beautiful, what we consider classically beautiful by human, judgment. Maybe they're more fish-like, or even yet something else. So there could be some startling images of the face. Maybe it looks a little more skull-like if it's really deep, deep, deep in the ocean. So we don't want to take for granted exactly what a real-life mermaid might look like. I think all versions exist, because if you look back to the 1500s up until, and even 1500s, all those sailors out there, look how many on record, archived like in the Spain and Spanish archives. They're known for being faithful with their records with navigational stuff. They were talking about mermaids at sea. And not all of these sailors and all of these stories across all of these hundreds of years could just be hitting the drink a little too much on the ship and imagining they saw mermaids. Come on. I don't buy that. Also, when we get into the Africa scene, I'm going to show you all of the local lore is people who have seen them. And again, are you going to trust the family history, like people telling you, people you trust who are loving in your family, not tricksters or, mean people. But if you have a loving parentage or grandparentage saying, yeah, honey, look over here, there might be a mermaid. That one's friendly, or watch out for that one. Don't go near the water, because I think there's stories of people being taken. There are other stories where they're fine and harmonious with everyone. But are you going to believe your own family who's credible? Or are you just going to believe some mainstream, thousands of miles away, AKA here, with some narrative saying they don't exist, they don't exist. If you're in your local village and it's true, right? So that's why I say I have an open mind. I believe they do exist. Now, what exactly they look like, we'll find out. I'm going to get to it soon. So first, let's look at the classical paintings, and then I'll get to the cave painting depictions, which gets really interesting. So again, I just went, did a search. Oh, this is the one, by the way, on the cover that I turned black and white. And sorry, I'm not as, I don't know, I'm a little off today. I'm a little not jittery, but just, they're shooting fireworks off. I think that's like working on me. I like fireworks sometimes. It's not good for the animals though. Okay, anyway, she's really beautiful, and that's a very ethereal view of a mermaid. And I don't care about the color of the hair. I just think the artist really captured a beautiful scene of a mermaid, and how they're probably really made of a lot of like light, like a light being, like that image here. On when I did my usual enhancements on my camera, that feels very electric to me, like very electromagnetic, I should say. And so anyway, I can't remember who this artist is. I'll put it in the description area later. But this one also reminded me of a softer, but also electromagnetic kind of energy to it. Anyway, maybe you know some of these. Again, I think these are pretty famous paintings. A couple mermaids on the rocks. Then there's the whole lore of, the sirens. That's a type of mermaid as well. What do they do in the lore? They lure the sailors to the rocks and they crash. So anyway, that mermaid has a lyre in her arms, and the man is like looking up to her, captivated by her. This is a little more modern art here. Another one where she's got the lyre and the man after her. Then what do we have? A ton of images with mermaids combing their hair. Yeah, it's a thing. And again, this one with the, kind of metallic scales. Half woman or half man and half, as they say, fish. Now, what's going to be coming up later is a different take on what the mermaid might look like. And again, not the so fair version like the fairy fair. This isn't going to be the mermaid fair. It's going to kind of be the mermaid, a little creepy, but a little more real if you think about marine mammals and other things. Looking at more like porpoises, look at their body and tail. That goes in the gray direction. That's not like that beautiful, sparkly, texture like in these paintings. So anyway, we'll get to it. So let's look at South Africa. Let's start there. So as I mentioned, there's a place called Cango Caves. It's called the Valley of Karoo in South Africa. Let me pull up the map. I have the map on my post section, but I do like to orient people, myself included, with where we're talking about. So let me do this before it turns black. I'm going to make this real quick. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to tell you before I show you because it blacks out on my screen. So we're going to be down in South Africa looking at the caves. Namibia, on the way up, has the fairy rings. Then we're going to go on up to Egypt, which has another cave of swimmers paintings. And then we're going to go up further on this map, and that will show you Greece and where I talked about that fairy flying around in front of Hades Cave. Interestingly enough, when I just used my finger on my phone editing tools, and I put asterisks in the locations that we're going to be heading in this show. And when I drew a little line, like connecting the dots, it almost forms kind of a straight line, coincidentally, because I just happened to find these four distinct locations to talk about today after I was just getting the fairies and mermaids topic coming in. So the intersection where the fairies and the mermaids intersect in the show is in the fact that there's something to do with desert and the caves and depictions, or where an actual thing was. Okay, in the case of the fairy. Anyway, but this is, it'll focus in a minute, I think, or not. Let's see. Here, let me hold it in my other hand. Might have a little more luck. Yeah, okay. So there you can, there you go. You see the pink? We're going to start at the south, and we got where those stars are, 1, 2, and then 2 at the top. So that's where we're going to be heading. And actually, here. Sorry about this, guys. So the Karoo part is down the lost it at the bottommost star. Fairy rings are the second one up. Then Egypt is at the top there, where we're going to look at the cave of swimmers. And up at the very top is where the fairy at the cave was. Okay, we can put that out of the way. And of course, you can look on your own, but I just felt it important to maybe mention it now. Okay. Oh, and then I'll catch up in the chat a minute. So, Rita had said beautiful Sarah as far as Sarah's depictions of fairies. And Sarah, of course, said thank you with beautiful emojis. Everyone's agreeing, yeah. Or Sarah says they definitely exist. I agree. And beautiful. Great. So thank you. Okay, so now let's look at this. We're going to start off. Let's start off with, I showed you we're going to be in South Africa looking at the Valley of Karoo. We'll do that first. So that's up here. Okay. And I put some videos on my post section where it also, shows this. Now, when you look at it, and here I'm going to do my cheat sheet way of cropping, manually cropping these images instead of on the tools on the drawing programs. Here we go. So here we go. So take a look at that. Now, you can see figures with tails. I think you can see they have arms doing different things, right? And again, the people locally in the area will tell you, yeah, absolutely, they've seen or know of, for real, there being mermaids in the different streams in the area. There's a river that winds in front of the cave. And so their local lore says, yes, absolutely there are. It's like saying there's a sun in the sky, there's grass on the ground, it's matter of fact. So here, like, you have someone that's a head and the torso and obviously the tail, 2 arms. Somebody claims like they're making fire maybe with this thing. Maybe they're making a tool. You have some other long being. So there's a head and arms and it just goes like this. Some say that might just be a depiction of the water level. So you've got beings above the water and then beings going down below. So this is open to a lot of interpretation. Some are calling it, the ones who want to dismiss it are saying, no, these are just swallows like the birds, because there's a lot of birds that fly into that cave. I think we all know that a bird doesn't look like this or like this, anything with arms doing different things and a mermaid body, so I say, I'm all in on it's a mermaid and I believe that's real there. Okay. Now the cave is located on a farm, private access. So it's not one of those UNESCO sites, and hopefully it will remain outside of their grasp. I'll just say it nicely. So anyway, again, there's a lot to that culture, but now I guess it's coming out more to the fore because now is the time to disclose this stuff and reveal it. I think all over the world, we're just naturally feeling it. Enough with the secrecy. We want to know what's going on. And even like indigenous tribes, if you want to just, use that phrase that we can all relate to, nothing, negative, just a term. Anybody local to any area, they know the real story. And yes, they may have been protecting the information for good reason, but I think we can just see it universally now. Even those protected areas and information's done, it's kind of like, okay, it's no more. It's time to let everything come to the light so we all can grow and have our collective consciousness get to a better place. How are we going to do that if anything's hidden? You know how it feels in your own situation, your own family or friends. Someone's hiding from something from you. You just feel like you can't relate. You don't know that person. They've been, holding back. Now's the time to come forward and share it. Like a lot of these YouTube channels are doing, like I'm trying to do too. If you know something, share it and give it freely, if you can. All right, so let's jump over then from the Congo cave. And again, I put some interesting videos that really show things in detail about those caves in my post section. And there's one in particular that takes it from the shaman point of view. And one of them reads a really interesting poem too, a very detailed poem in Afrikaans, I think, but I think they have it translated below. So you might want to check that out. My eyes really opened up on that one. I really enjoyed it. Then I put another one by this guy. He was kind of like doing a travel log. He just a young guy, like in his 30s. He hikes in and he camps there at that cave right under the paintings, that sacred site, for 24 hours. And it's just meant to be humorous. So I threw that one in there too. One of the things he showed had me laughing so hard. So you might enjoy that too. So there's a serious one, a good one, very enriching one. And the other one is informative. And it puts you in the shoes of, oh my gosh, would I be able to handle a night, 24 hours out in the open there on this cliffside in South Africa? And, see how you feel about that. Anyway, okay, so then we get to the fairy rings in Namibia. So if you remember the map, we're just going up a little bit, up and over to the west, still in the southern portion of Africa. And what are fairy rings? Some of you, sorry if this is loud on the mic. Some of you may already know. I'm used to not being in the desert, but I've seen fairy rings. There's an actual ring on the ground. Let me go back a step. So if you're in the forest or in any location where there's a grassy area, you may see just a dark green. So the grass is one level of green, and then you see a pronounced dark, ring. And you can't see how it formed. It forms overnight. The conditions aren't strange, like a weird kind of storm or soggy. Oh, you may hear some firecrackers and more in the background for the 4th. Happy 4th for anyone who's celebrating that. I am celebrating free spirit and free spirits, and I think that's why the mermaids and the fairies came in on this show. The spirit of being free, truly free. And so anyway, so a fairy ring can be a dark, dark circle, and maybe some of you know more than me on it. This is just what I know. And I've experienced one actually in a neighborhood. It was never there. And there was a little path where I'd go see a neighbor. And one day there was this dark, dark ring around it. And I had never seen one in this neighborhood in 50 years. So I'm like, what is this? And I looked around and I saw it's called a fairy ring. Now, some have mushrooms like pop up just suddenly in a pure circle and pretty big, you know, on the ground. Flowers might pop up in a circle. And the redwood forests in California, they call them fairy rings, where some of these great sequoias kind of grow in a perfect ring circle. So they take on many forms. So what I had not heard of was this whole desert aspect of desert fairy rings. And apparently in the Namibian desert, there are fairy rings. Now, some articles say it's a mystery. I don't know. I haven't really looked down that badger hole, as I call it, not a rabbit hole, to really research that. But again, this might be something, food for thought, or a springboard for any of you to go look. But look at, here's one, you know, so it's a clearing. Clearly, that's a ring. And then when you go in an aerial view, they're all over the place. And this is just in one part of this desert. Go look at aerial views, you know, do an internet search if you want. It says aerial views, Namib fairy rings. And there's like a whole section of the desert that has more. This is reddish tone. There's some that are like more kind of yellow, weird, like clay looking. And there's rings all over the place. So yeah, have a look at that. I wish I could tell you more. I didn't go further in that little pulling that thread and going down that trail. So you may find some fun stuff that I haven't seen. And actually, let me do this. I was going to show one more set of classical fairy paintings that I forgot to show, but I'm going to keep going with the momentum of this. Hang on, I got to get something off my screen. There we go. And show you, we're going to move into the Animal Planet section of the show that I was telling you about earlier. So this quote unquote mockumentary that it was dubbed after the fact, it made a big splash, pun intended, when it first came out. People got freaked out because they were feeling the reality of the possibility of the mermaids. And they really felt it. And that's when the government agencies came in and said, oh, no, that's just, you know, fake and whatever. But again, couple scenes hit me hard, like, oh, my God, that's real. Yes, the actors in there are acting. Yes, there are some very clear CGI reenactments. Those aren't the scenes I'm talking about. In and amongst all of that kind of showing that are some moments where you're like, oh, crap, that part was real. Okay. Anyway, oh, and Rita says, the fairy rings or ring forts in Ireland are intriguing. Didn't know they could be in the desert either. Fascinating. Thank you. Thank you, too, because I didn't know about the desert part. And thank you for bringing up fairy forts. I meant to do that. There's also tons of articles about and videos about fairy forts. And they also kind of form in a ring. And especially like in Ireland, I just know you might have, you know, some farmlands or whatever, and then you just see a ring of trees. And you can feel it. It's kind of like, wait, this is sacred territory. I must ask permission if I'm going to enter into this ring. Now, I think in that lore, and again, correct me, anybody out there, if you know more than me on the Irish scene of it all, I think that if you, well, first of all, you're not supposed to cut brush or bush or tree that's in any of these areas or known to be a fairy tree, or that will bring you bad luck, you know, in that lore. Also, yes, you're supposed to ask permission to enter into that. And there's a ton of lore around, don't step in a fairy ring because that's a portal. You might, you know, go somewhere else. That's in the lore. So I think we start, you know, it's a good time to start really paying attention to some of the lore that obviously a lot of these older, especially older villages in Ireland, take it to heart. I mean, it's fact. It's not fiction, you know, so there's a there, as they say. All right, so let's get into this. So again, the Animal Planet thing, I'm probably after the show, I'll post a couple of the YouTube shorts that show I think like the three things that I thought were like landed as real to me. And like I said, if you want the one, what am I saying? The one link to something on YouTube that shows, I think it shows the full show, then that one just email me, because I don't want to, you know, I don't want to put it on the radar for somebody to scrub it off the internet. All right. So anyway, let me do this. So like I said, there were like 6 parts it was broken into. So it's called, the overall show is Animal Planet Mermaids, The Body Found. So if you're going to do a search and you want to look for it, that's what the whole show is called. So they do one segment where it's kind of like an autopsy scene where they're showing bone and they're trying to reconstruct, parts that they found of a mermaid. And, they go into talking about looking at the skull and doing like a scan of it, showing that there's a cavity up here. It's a little depressed. That's more like a dolphin, suitable for sonar. And they go on and on. So some of that, I think it's fake what they're showing you. However, I believe there actually was stuff done and they did actually find one. They're just not showing you the real thing in this reenactment of this documentary. Okay. Then intermixed in there is another part called Ancient Spears Found in Fish. And I'm just going to read these first and I'm going to show you pictures. So then there's a scene where they have a fisherman. He's speaking German. And he's talking about the Baltic Sea, which funnily enough, I had on my other show talking about the Baltic Sea anomaly, which is a ET craft, submerged, crashed into the ocean or the sea floor. But anyway, this fisherman's talking about how, and again, this guy might be a reenacted actor, but I think the words behind it are real. So I think the script, whether it's the real person or not, is up for grabs. But what he's saying, I think, is what another fisherman would really have been saying, because he's talking about being out in the deep, deep sea. There are stories from other fishermen that they've seen weird stuff and humanoid type things out there. And then he said the most incredible thing, strange thing, is that they were finding like tools, like these spears out of bone that were definitely crafted, hand worked, found sticking in fish. So when the deep sea fishermen were bringing up their nets, they were finding these fish with these weird spikes in them that looked, hand tooled. It's not just like, oh, this just happened to be a stingray barb in there or something. I don't even know if they exist in the Baltic Sea, but it was the kind of thing where, no, this thing was crafted to be used as a tool, as a spear. So we have that aspect. That's one of the parts of this, documentary. Then a really fascinating one is it's called Mermaid on the Rock. And there's like some young guys and they're filming and he's like, wait, what's that? And they're looking down on a rock and I'm going to show you pictures in a minute. And the sea looks really muddy, kind of disturbed. And you see something sitting on the rock and you think, it could be a seal. It could be whatever. But then all of a sudden it turns and looks at the guys. And then all of a sudden it turns back. You see arms lift up and you see it scoot off that rock really fast. Now, I'm going to show you, I've done a little photo analysis of it and zoomed in, the photographic images, the video images aren't that great to work with. So I did what I could. But to me, that scene was real. That was one of those real moments. The other thing about the stuff stuck in the fish, maybe, I'm not so sure. They didn't really show anything that was like, oh yeah, that is. So that's a 50-50 for me. But there's a photograph one of the fishermen shows that, I grabbed my camera when I saw this being in the water, and it looks like they caught a merman, or could be a merwoman, I don't know, swimming away. That could be real. But then they show actual video footage of a whole crew. It's really rough. I think it's the Baltic Sea, really rough seas. And they're pulling up a whole net filled with fish. And, they're hauling in their catch, and it's really rocky, really rough. And then for a moment in there, again, everything is dark and subdued. I think probably they could have lightened it up and really shown people, but it would freak the people the heck out. Even this dark kind of subdued way that they showed the video, it kind of freaked me out a little bit too. Because again, it's like the first, what? This could be real? What? moment. But anyway, they haul the net up and they're like, oh my God, what's in there? And you see the head of a man, again, kind of silhouetted, backlit. And then you see an arm come out and it's webbed, it doesn't look like the human hand. It's all webbed, reaching out to try to catch something. And then they just cut the net and it falls down. Now, the reason why that scene rings true is, yeah, sure, you could say, oh, there's a guy in a wetsuit and they just put on these fake hands and they made it look like that. But when you see how rough the sea is that they dropped the whole thing back into, sure, okay, I guess certain stunt divers could pull that off. But it really would be risky. And just something inside said, wait, that could be real. Now, in order of most convincing on this, documentary, we'll say loosely, of the mermaids, for me, the mermaid on the rock is real. I think the one in the net could absolutely, I'm leaning more real than not. And then there was another, I don't have it here, but I have it on my post section. There was another frame where they're doing archaeology somewhere and they discover a skeleton of one. And that one looked real to me. So it had like a human looking skull, what you would expect, you know, human body at the top part, and then, you know, fish body, if we want to say, fish tail on the bottom part. Now, there's other kinds of documentaries or news stories that show this kind of hideous half monkey looking thing and half tail of a fish. I don't think that part's real, but I think the concept behind it is real. I think there's some, like I said, some of these mermaids just may look, you know, more human and beautiful. Others might look what we would downright call hideous. You know, it might look more like a skull or like an ape, but whatever. And again, I think there are a lot of factors involved. Where are they coming from? How deep in the ocean are they? Are they an ET species? So much of this, you know, comes into play when you have a very open mind. You know, closed mind, you're going to just say, oh, they don't exist. Good luck to you. And that's fine. Go about your merry way. I happen to feel it and just know it with a capital K, that, you know, when you feel it right where you know where you can trust things, they exist. And again, with some of the other evidence is coming to light, and we don't know everything. What do they always throw out there? Oh, they say 10% of the ocean is discovered. Oh, it's far less than that. And what are they hiding in Guam? Look at Guam. Look where Guam is. Military base smack right there. And Guam is the southern tip of what? The Mariana Trench. And that Mariana Trench, what do they say, is the deepest like crack that we know of, you know, and what are they studying down there? There's something to it, absolutely. And how do I know too? Guam and that area of the world, the Mariana Trench, happens to be near where I've shown before, Micronesia. And there are all tales and lore, Pacific Island legends. This covers, I'm going to go over this again. And again, if you already know it, tune out for a minute if you want. This is for anyone who's new. These Pacific Island legends cover Micronesia, Melanesia, Polynesia, New Caledonia, part of Australia. And I have bookmarked the one that really caught my attention here, because we're talking mermaids, and I know I've covered it before. I'm going to bring it back again. Is the island of the Dolphin Girls. And I think what I'll do, I think I said this last time too, I may just read this as a one-off and post it. It's a short little story. It's like 4 pages. But the gist of this is that a boy is with his village. They're, you know, fishing or whatever, and something's in the water, looks like a dolphin, smacks the kid off the side of the boat with a tail. He falls in the water. For whatever reason, instead of swimming up, he intuitively knows to swim down, which is counterintuitive. And he ends up in a pocket in an island that apparently has air down there somewhere. And then these dolphin girls show up. And they were one of the dolphins that smacked him off the boat. And then they describe it as they were taking off their skins by the pool and splashing around and walking as girls. And then they put the skins back on and they were dolphins again. So where's somebody getting that kind of a story in Micronesia? Unless they have seen something. I'm just going to say it. I believe there's a there. Okay. Anyway, let's keep going. Oh, and let's see. Oh, Sarah T says, yes, true. Many kinds and creations, much to explore and see. Yes. So we only know a fraction of what's going on down there. We are hearing now with the disclosure that a lot of craft and stuff might start coming up out of the oceans as a part of disclosure. You don't need to tell me that. I know growing up in Miami, tons of people who have boats and they go out at night and they go out all over the bay or the ocean and they'll say, yeah, I've seen craft. I've seen it. And I've talked to other people who are staying on docks and fishing at night at all the different places in the bays and looking up and they're like, oh yeah, you see stuff moving around there. So is it disclosure for everybody? No, a lot of people are onto it already. It's just a lot of us have been told like, oh yeah, that doesn't exist when we know it does. And now is finally the time where more people than not are going to start seeing it, which is a good thing. So anyway, there's so many possibilities. Oh, and Sarah says, yeah, wild and wonderful. Absolutely. And nothing to be afraid of. I think, we could look at some of this stuff. Look at, I'm going to go out of order on this, and I promise I will get to the Animal Planet thing, but let me jump out of order for a minute. Okay. And we'll still get to everything. What I want to say is, look how much fear is surrounding Jaws, the great white shark, right? I personally cannot stand that director, the initials SS, really kind of strongly dislike the guy because he ruined the ocean and swimming for a lot of kids in my generation, me included. Am I resentful? Yeah, I'll let it go. But Yeah, it ticks me off. He scared people to the point where kids didn't even see the movie, but just the commercials were disturbing. To the point where even kids were so afraid they wouldn't even go in a swimming pool. And come on, what psycho terror is that? That's not okay. So when you look at that figure, why is that director doing something on disclosure for ETs? I don't want him touching anything with that subject because it's got such a dark energy on it. Dark energy with dinosaurs, dark energy with all of it, trying to make people afraid. So I love now that we're coming into an era to get rid of that fear. It really is a choice. So we're going to pick fear around all these topics or love and possibilities around these topics. You have your free will. Choose what you want. I'm not judging your choice. Don't judge mine, kind of a thing. But now's the time to let's look at this with everything. No division. Look at it with a scientific mind. Look at it with an artful eye. Look at it with the inner divine connection space. We need to look at all of these really enigmas, these anomalies, these fascinating topics. I mean, we don't need to do anything, but you know what I'm saying. With an open mind, with curiosity, with childlike wonder, with all of it, because if we shut it down and say, oh, nope, only science, nope, I can only do a peer review paper, boy, are you missing out on that 90% of the ocean. You're looking at 10% to do an analogy, right? Have all of it, look at all of it, and then put it all together and without fear. So what I like is whether you agree with people like I'm going to show or not, it's time to get rid of this fear mongering surrounding the ocean, surrounding possibilities of some of these beings existing. Because look at this. This is, I don't know if you're familiar with people like, there's many, Ocean Ramsey. And she's swimming. She loves great whites, tiger sharks, things that most people would say, no, thank you. I'm not getting anywhere near that with a guide or not. But when you look at some of her interviews, and I'm just coming into the whole world of what she does just this week, she speaks with joy. She speaks with deep respect and wonder for these other beings in the oceans. And that's a place where I feel like, the more of us that get into that, what are you afraid of? There is no fear. Of course, I'm not going to go sit right in front of this if I don't know what I'm doing with a lot of chum in the water. I don't think they use chum, but definitely not where they're swimming with them. But the point is that the more you get educated, so she teaches people on how to actually, touch the tiger sharks if they're approaching, read their behaviors, just like somebody would have a pit bull. They'd say, oh, I love him and he's friendly. And somebody else who's jittery around dogs would be like, whoa, but he could snap, and they feel your fear and, they read you. And the more that you read them and their behaviors, you can either sit in fear of these things or get as educated as you can about them. And again, it doesn't mean you have to jump in the water, but even just like learning what she does, I'm in fascination. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And I could see where somebody who has that love for, say, a great white could get to that level where you fully understand it. You read the room. She's not going to go jumping in if the shark feels agitated. But, interesting, very interesting, that whole world. Then you get to the other world. I don't know if any of you, this story came out quite a while ago. I think it's called the Bajau community in Indonesia. And these people, I think they were the inspiration for Water World, The Way of Water, Avatar, The Way of Water, because they live completely on the water. They lived on stilted houses and everybody, it's like a swimming community. They go down, they make their own, spears and things and get the fish. Now their spleens supposedly are much larger than other Indonesians who don't live on the water. And that helps them stay underwater longer. So supposedly people like this guy can stay underwater for 13 minutes and certainly for 6, do the hunting, and it's free diving. Now, Ocean Ramsey, she also free dives. I think she holds her breath for most trips like 3 to 6 minutes, but she can also hold it longer if it's still conditions. So these are people that are, either genetically, becoming more capable through generations or learning how to do it. So these things are possible. And I'm bringing these up because the notion of a mermaid isn't that far-fetched. If we know that we could, exist in water, mostly water, environment if we wanted to, shows that anything part human, can do it. So anyway, that's a whole nother fascinating, the Bajau community, if you want to look there and see what they do. And supposedly, this is just all the reports I can find online. Maybe it's wrong. But they said even some of the kids, or when they're, I don't know how old you have to be, but in that community, in order to stay underwater longer, they on purpose rupture their eardrums. And it's a little gross, but that way they can like somehow stay underwater longer. So look into that if it interests you. And Sarah T says, makes me think of Joan Ocean. Yeah, I thought about her too. Joan Ocean too. Her story is fascinating as well. Yeah, I kind of like got them both confused, and I'm like, oh yeah, Ocean Ramsey, and there's also Joan Ocean. So definitely look into that per what Sarah's talking about. And Rita says, you mentioning the lore of the Dolphin Girls, I thought of the movie The Abyss. LOL, fascinating movie. LOL. That one was. And what do we have in The Abyss? We have a whole spoiler alert, that Abyss movie. We have the whole community of like ET and bioluminescent beings down there, and they have a whole craft that comes up to the surface. So again, I think we've got hint drops in a lot of these movies. And what was that? That was a James Cameron movie. And what else did James Cameron do? Avatar. He also did Titanic. And there are clues in all of these movies. So, and he did many more, but anyway, they all have like hint drops in them. And what else happened? I'll just say with James Cameron, allegedly, reportedly anyway, what I can find on the internet, he also dove down to the Titanic, supposedly. Here's one of these secret society numbers, supposedly 33 times. Okay. Also, he was one that went down to Antarctica. What do we know about that? Not many people get an access pass down there. And it is said, I don't know if this is true, but it's said that he had access to some of the tunnel entrances in the, I was going to say in the abyss, in Antarctica. And as he was moving through them, the whole avatar idea of the bioluminescence came from him seeing some of that for real, in some of those entrances and whatnot. I think it's possible. How is it that one person like him, again, is doing all of these movies with very heavy topics, even the avatar idea? And then you have the director SS. I just don't like to say his name, first name Steven, I'll just say. He also is like cornering the market on some of these really big topics like ETs, dinosaurs, and other things, right? And sharks. What's going on there? I think it's a very good question. Time for us to start really questioning some of these things. Okay, let's see. And Sarah says, wow, that's interesting. Wow, one with the water. Okay, yeah, the one with the water. All right, so now let me get back. I know I detoured a bit, but that's the way this show goes, if you know any of what I'm doing. So now let's look back at the Animal Planet, and then I'll go in on, zoom in on the enhancements I did on just the Mermaid Girl and the Rock, okay? So I already told you the 6 parts, and I didn't tell you all 6 parts, sorry. There's other ones where they find a body and this and that, So just look around and see which ones interest you. So back to, here, let me do this. Old-fashioned way once again. Okay. So what I just read to you about the different parts, was this. I was just taking excerpts. So we got the overall thing, the Animal Planet, mermaids, the body found, just as a refresher here. The mermaid on the rock, we're going to get to that in a minute. Spears found in the fish, there's an example. And here's the fisherman talking about, hey, when I saw these little spears sticking in the fish and they look like intelligently human made, he's like, made me realize that we're in their turf. They're doing the fishing. And this fisherman's like, I think we stumbled into their territory, right? All right, so then let me do this and show you a couple of the other things. We'll get to the real fun part, is the last 3 slides. We're almost done, guys. All right, so here's the fisherman. Let me do this one more time. All right. There's a method to my madness. I like to do these paper copy slides for a reason. And a lot of it is, I think, that for posterity with some of these shows, this information will stay on longer than if I have a digital file that can be kind of corrupted. Not that this camp is a little harder to do. Anyway, so this is the picture that fisherman was talking about, that he ran and got his camera. So there's the head, the shoulder, and the back, and then the tail of this being. Now, again, whether this is a real photo or just a reenactment that they're doing in this documentary, doesn't matter to me. The thing is the concept. So again, I think whether that's the actual photo or not, I think they're lifting a real story from a real fisherman who did see something, who did take a photo. So this is, again, a 50-50 for me. Maybe that is a real photo, maybe not, but I think the story is real behind it. That's just what I feel. So like I always say on this channel, go with your inner truth detector. Mine may be the same as you, may be different, but if it rings true for you, it is. There's something there. Okay. Okay. So anyway, here's the part where the fishermen, they're pulling up their net, so you can't see the rope, but they're hoisting up the net. And what you see here is just the top of a big net of, bulbous net of fish that's going to come up. So as they're doing that, it's like storyboarding the old-fashioned way. So as they pull up this netting, there's a ton of fish. You can see the fish flitting around in there. And then you see something bigger moving in there. And then this arm juts out. And these are the fishermen like looking at it. So look at how skinny, the wrist is, and then the forearm gets bigger. And then it's just like a weird spiky thumb and, webbing. And then, they're cutting the net and the whole thing's about to drop. And this thing reaches out like in desperation a little bit further. So that's what we're talking about. Again, could somebody be in there in a suit? Possibly. But it rang true as being more real than not in that scene for me. You look at it and you be your own judge. But even if it is a man in a suit, I'm saying the feeling behind it is it's reenacting a real scene. I'm just going to say it like that. Okay, now we get to the most fun part of the show, I think. And now we get to the scene of the mermaid on the rock from that Animal Planet thing too. And I'm trying not to use their name, but it's kind of hard not to for the show. So here we go. Here's what these guys see. They're up high on something. I don't know if they're on a boat or on land. I don't know, but they're filming this rock. And they're like, oh, what's that down there? Okay, so from a distance, they can't quite tell. And from a distance, it could be a seal. You don't quite see this tail yet. But when you start to zoom in, you see that that's not just like a seal. And that's looking like a head and a body and a fish tail. So it's looking like a mermaid. Okay. Now, the creepy thing is that a little creepy is that all of a sudden in the footage, this head turns around and stares exactly where the kids are. I'll just call them kids. And when I will say it's a she, I don't know what it is, turns around to look at them, it looks like the underbelly of a dolphin. Like, the top of it looks more like a hybrid, like a mix of things, but sorry for the going all over the place. See how this is like the tail, the fish tail coming down, and like the little, what do you call it, webbing that's off to the side. It's kind of more like grayish. It kind of looks more like the dolphin body before it goes into a tail, but a different shaped tail. So the color, the vibe of it all has kind of like this porpoise dolphin, skin feel to it. So when let's just say she turns around, she's got like the lighter color underbelly of, like, I would say, a dolphin. Now she looks like she has black hair, flowing long hair on the back, but she turns around, it's looking all like that underside of a dolphin. And then I'm looking and I'm like, the closer I zoomed in, it's not a roundish or even whatever shape faces humans have. It was looking more to me like a little more pointed, like a dolphin. So here we have a little bit of a conundrum. I would still say it's a mermaid, but instead of like a more humanoid face, it has maybe even more of a fish or a dolphin-like face, mixed, interestingly enough. But clearly it turns around, makes like eye contact. And then in the next frame, so it turns, looks, and then I don't have the full sequence, but then it very quickly goes, oh, shoot, like I've been discovered. So this merm being, gets up on two arms, and I'll try to, like this, like you're hoisting yourself up off the rock, and very quickly then shoots on over the rock and into the ocean. Now, when you look at the video of this, the way that the tail is angled down, the movement at the very tip of this tail to me looks too much organic to have been anybody in a suit pretending to be a mermaid. The level of control at the very extreme part of that tail is pretty incredible and pretty natural. So that's why I say I'm convinced by this video that that's real. Okay. Now I did zoom in. Okay. I did what I do. I zoomed in and I did my enhancements, trying to get at something better than what we just saw. And it was really hard because the whole footage is grainy. But here you can see the tail going down like we saw before. And here you see horizontal, pure horizontal going down. That's her arm. Some being is half human going down with the arms on that rock. Now this almost looks like a knee can kind of come out of the tail part, but I still don't think that's a person in a suit. I just think that's a function of how this being would lift itself up on the arms and then dive into the water. Now, what I thought was really weird is, again, it's hard because it's grainy footage to begin with, but look at this. There's it looks like an antenna sticking straight up here, and the head looks just kind of strange. So, this is a big kind of a mystery in and of itself. Let me fold this So then I'm like, okay, what's going on? Let's use different lightness, brightness, contrast, saturation on this and see what's happening. See if we can pull anything else out. And I really couldn't. So you can see there's clearly, you know, this mermaid fish tail at the back. You can see like a knee or something happening. And it's kind of hard to see. It got really in the way that some of these light beings and other kind of, what do we want to call them, mystical beings, have like a way of projecting some kind of electromagnetic field, aura, if you will. It kind of messes with the camera sometimes too. But anyway, in this case, here I wanted to get at what's going on up here at the head. So it's almost like this is looking out toward the water away from us. We've got the black hair, and then it almost looks like it's coming to like a snout or a point or a beak. You know, to me, again, it's feeling like more porpoise-like. And then I'm going to show you, let's see, 3 more generations of trying to find out what's going on with the head and the face. And then really the original footage is kind of blurry, so it's hard to get there with what I had to work with. But anyway, here's another one zoomed in further, just the head and the shoulders and the arms, you know, again, doing this, getting up on the rock, pulling herself up on the rock. So you'd have the arm coming back, that would be the elbow, and then the forearms going down, straight out, again, down. So whatever is happening, these are appendages that are sticking straight and level, you know. If you're really fit, which I'm not at the moment, and I'm like pulling myself up off the side of a pool or something, you know, she's got perfect, you know, arms sticking out perfectly. And then she's in the middle of crawling. So this arm is like behind and this one's going forward a bit. But again, what's going on with this? It's like a stick. So maybe that's just adornment in the quote unquote hair, or I don't know what else to tell you. Like 100%. I don't like the phrase honest to goodness truth, but I don't know what's happening. But the overall vibe, and again, it's easy to look at something one way when you just have a frozen frame, but you got to see the whole sequence of video to put the whole picture together. So I really invite you to go see the original footage here. All right, so here we go. Now I'm zooming in more, and I've changed the color because a lot of times our eyes get so used to looking at a scene in one color or the other. I like to then change the tint on it. So like in the case that it was more warm tones, now I want to take it in more blue tones and see if we see this in any other way. I usually like to push it a little bit further and put it in black and white because our mind starts to look at things differently based on color play. So I'm going to hold this up a little further back. So there's that head. Again, she's looking toward the ocean away from us, but there's that stick. Maybe that's one of these things of why there's the lore of the mermaids combing their hair and taking good attention to her hair. Maybe there's just like a hair comb stuck in, you know, I don't know, but it's definitely either an antenna or some kind of stick. And then over here, the front starts to look like, again, like maybe it's a foreshortened kind of more of like a dolphin beak. I don't know. But look at, again, we have these straight limbs. And in the video, you see something gets up on the arms and crawls, splashes into the ocean. And again, that kind of looks like a leg that moves into the tail. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you is zooming in just on this head part. Okay, what we'll call the head. This gets interesting because I'm just playing around with color saturation, brightness, some temperature and whatever, just to see if any clues pop up in the photo. Now, here we go. So here again is that stick. Now, what's interesting is playing it around. Look at these waves. Look at these waves, these concentric waves in the main body part of this being. Now, to me, this isn't a thermal reading, but it's acting like it. It's highlighting different energies going on in the photo. Otherwise, it wouldn't turn all these crazy wild colors. So to me, something more than just, that's not like a human in a suit. To be able to generate and project these kind of light tricks, you know, and color tricks, there's some other technology at play in there. And again, look at this, is really interesting to me, right around the head area. So do I have all the answers? No, but I have more clues to present forward, more than we had before. But above all, go with your own intuition, your own heart space reading on all of this and get to your own truth. I've got mine, but it's not like I'm set on it either. I've got it, but I also am keeping mine open for even more stuff to come in, because what do we know? If we're going to grow, we got to be able to be open-minded and have ever expanding kind of information come in and build things and on and on. If we stay stuck and like, oh, nope, That's that, and that's it. We know we're not learning and growing, right? Now, we can keep an open mind and then, end up coming back right around the same conclusion that may have come before from somebody saying, nope, I'm just sticking to this. But then, okay, but it's worth the journey instead of staying pigeonholed in one area. Why not be open to stuff? Now, if someone has a different point of view, I will listen. I'll be like, oh, okay, and what do you think about that or this or that? And I'm not going to dismiss it. I'm going to hold my own beliefs loosely again so that I can grow. And at the end of the day, I may not agree, but who cares? It's just my opinion. The other person, their opinion matters to them. So, it's good to discuss things, I think, whether or not we align on our opinions or not, or our points of view. Again, each of us, as many of us that are different, we have different, heart spaces registering different things, also depending on our own contexts of where we're from. And when you take that back to what star origin are you, or galactic origin, perhaps, we're all going to have slightly different ways of seeing things. And it's okay. It's what makes everything more magical on this earth, I think. And Rita says, let's see. Oh, wait. A couple of things. So Rita says, maybe mermaids turn into dolphins when they see humans because they don't want to be seen by us. Very true. And maybe they think humanity is not ready to know the truth yet. Also true. Yeah, I agree with that. I think they definitely can kind of morph and change. Or I think that whole, again, we talked about changelings with fairies. There's very, real lore there and some deep-seated lore that does ring as true, with stuff being able to transform and change. And look at, what do we know? Look at, I hate to say this, but not hate to say it, but look at Ovid. And I think that's a part of the reason why they called it, well, I'll say convid, but you know what I'm saying? COVID. Ovid wrote the Metamorphosis, or it's attributed to him. Metamorphosis was all about beings changing into different things. We're talking about the gods, the Olympian gods. Who were they? Start looking deeper there. And the whole lore of them, what were they doing? Changing people into all kinds of crazy stuff. Athena, notably, if that's true, reportedly, she did it. I don't know, allegedly. Changing, like I've said before, Arachne, wonderful woman, weaving skills off the charts. Gods get jealous. Athena changes her into a spider, arachnid, right? And that kind of thing. So they were always changing. And supposedly Athena changed into an owl and flew over her armies. It's all about change and shape-shifting stuff. Oh, look at Zeus. Do we need to go we don't even need to go past that. How many times he supposedly, allegedly changed into all kinds of things to seduce women, including a shower of rain with Danae. And, come on, it's endless stories about shape-shifting and changing. And so why not? Wouldn't there be other beings that can do it? And even if they didn't and remain kind of porpoise-like, I think, of course they wouldn't want to be, just seen. But I think even they know that now's the time where the veil, quote unquote, is thinning. And now's the time to show no matter what. I do think there's a clock on this thing. And I think all beings in all realms know this. And I think now's the time where there's supposedly, like I call with the craft, sloppy cloaking. Like I've noticed over the 6 years, they were really well cloaked, but I could see them. Then they, meaning whoever's operating those things, would let it be shown to me like a pipe sticking out, or a little more of the parts and pieces of the craft. And so until I was ready, I think, or to really kind of understand what I was seeing, and like a slow drip process. So that kind of like getting your foot wet in the pool, right? It's cold. What do? You have a couple choices. You just say, oh, screw it, and you just jump in, and you're like, the shock of the ice water, if it's a really cold body of water. Or you're like, okay, I'll put my toe in, maybe I can work the foot now, I'm a little used to it now, maybe the ankle, and that's the slow drip way, right? So a lot of people aren't ready for the just jump into the ice hole. It's like, let me just, get acclimated first. And that's what's happening. But now, or has been happening, sorry. But now I think we're kind of, not like we're running out of time in a bad way, but now I think it's like, okay, we've kind of dilly-dallied long enough. Now these beings like Sasquatch and others are like, yeah, we've had to hide, but now it's time. Let's let these humans kind of know little by little. Some of the memory, some of knowing that these exist are coming in our dream state. Some were interacting in interactive astral dreaming, lucid dreaming. Some are memory recall of, oh, I remember I had a kid, and when I was a kid, I had a dream about this. Oh, I just thought it was a dream. And then you realize, oh, wait, that was real. And then there's like a blurred boundary, like, was that real? Was it not? Or, oh, I was on a boat with my family, and I remember seeing something odd. And I think it was a mermaid, but then you were told by everyone, no, it's not, no, it's not, no, it's not. But now that's releasing, and those memory recalls are coming back, and you're like, wait, why didn't I think about this for 40 years, 50 years? Oh, wait a minute, there was something there. And that's the whole period of revelations that we're in right now. Things being revealed in all kinds of ways. Whether you see something going out, right, open your door and see a Sasquatch by a tree right now, or you wake up in the morning going, wait, why am I thinking about this encounter that I had when I was like 7 now? Like, what? We're being activated to remember all of this now, and to get comfortable with what normally we wouldn't have been, because now's the time to embrace some of this stuff and move forward with it. I mean, there's a whole nother realms out there. So why are we limited to one little cage? We're supposed to be out there playing around with all this, not, being sequestered off in one little petri dish, not being allowed to go out with the others. So anyway, that's all I want to say about that. Let's see. Yeah, no, and Rita says, let's see. I'm sorry if I'm missing any of these things, guys. Let's see. Rita says, the human masses tend to act in a negative way mindset. So maybe they feel we are not ready to embrace them. And maybe they know they might get put in a cage and be exploited, as an example. Hope that doesn't come across harsh. Okay. No, and that's true too. And that has been done, right? But I think, again, now's the time where they talk about it. Right now, we're kind of at a choice point. Are you going to choose to live in fear? Or are you going to choose to live in love? And it really is a matter of how you're looking at it. Do you want to take it like Native American? They say, which wolf are you going to feed? You're going to feed the black wolf or the white wolf? You're making a choice. And that's where you're putting all your energy and attention. So choose wisely, as they say. It's not just a cute little phrase. It is for real. Choose wisely. So, do you want things to seem smooth and loving and a nice way forward? Then you're going to choose the loving way. If you love the drama of fear and being like scared and going down that path, okay, it's a choice. I'm not going to judge that choice. You have that choice. But then don't be surprised if your outer world just appears dimmer and darker and whatnot, because this is the point where we're in the shift, as they say. So we're shifting from a 3D matrix, 3D world to a more heavenly 5D one. So if you want a happier trail, so to speak, you're going to choose the loving way forward. And then again, if you don't, you have that choice. You want to play in the muck, you can play there and stay there. But there's going to be, they call it, in the Bible, biblically, they say it's the separation of the wheat from the tare. The tare is like the weeds. And so just choose, you want to stay in the weeds or you want to be the wheat. And, one goes to a happy golden place and the other not so much. And again, it's just a choice that at the very end of the day, all of us end up together eventually, all in one place, uplifted and beautiful in the heavenly realms. But one route is a scenic route that takes a really long time and a lot of like nasty stuff. I don't believe in the, you're going to hell with the pitchfork kind of idea. But yeah, it can be a little rough, or you're just not happy in playing with the others until you kind of decontaminate and raise your energy to be amongst those with good energy. So anyway, but we're at a time of that choice point. So because of that, most of us are choosing the loving way. We've already crossed the tipping point. So if this is like the halfway mark, there's those that want to choose and play and stay and play down here. That's okay. They can choose that. But more of us than not are up here. And we're like, done with this. We want to see what's better for all of us. It's a beautiful world forward for human life, animals, everybody. And that's already, most of us has said, yes, please. So now that most of us have said, yes, please, to the loving way forward and, and love, and treat the animals and other fairy and mystical realms with respect, to answer your long-winded way to talk about your point, Rita, is that I think even those beings know that's where we're at now. They can feel the collective energies, and they know that now is the time that they can be seen a little more, not risk that old mindset like, oh, I see it, I kill it. That's not most of us. That's none of us here on watching this or in the chat. I know that's none of us here that would say, oh, let me go, get that thing. That's a certain mindset that's going to be playing down here. So we're coming out of that. We don't have to worry about it anymore. And Sarah T says the astrology is also pushing us towards the seeing, the awareness. Oh, beautiful. Yes. I love to hear that. I'm not into the, or let's just say not versed in the astrology world. So it's always good to hear that too. And that backs everything up of our timing and the cycles of what we're in. So that's amazing. And so, yeah, a little good practice that we can do, And I'm putting myself in the same boat, pun intended, that I need to practice this as well. I do it sometimes, but not routinely as I'd like. Is that the moment you step out of wherever you stay, asleep, I guess, and you head out into the world, whatever you're doing on the day to day, just remember, like when you open up that door, have in your heart all ready to go, like look at all the trees, or if you hear birds, and just in your mind telepathically or out loud, if you're, it's not weird if people around you don't understand what you're doing. But just say it. Oh my gosh, you all are so beautiful today. Look at you. Like whether it's the tree or the squirrels or whatever you have in your area, flora and fauna. And just from your heart space, emote it. Just say, oh my gosh, like greeting the day, greeting all of your friends and family who are 4-footed, 2-legged, and whatever, insects, everybody included, things under the earth. And just blast it out from your heart space, a beautiful energy. Like, look how beautiful all of you look today. Thanks for being here, and go about your day. And if you start doing that as a daily practice, like remember to do it, you'll see how beautifully your day unfolds, because you're right away wishing not just humans, other humans good, which is good, but also the elemental world. And then you'll see little fun surprises show up when you start doing that, because the elementals can respond in fun little ways, like leave you a heart-shaped rock by your car door as you're, going in. Say you're going into a car and it wasn't there before, you're running an errand, you come out and it happens to be like little grass nearby or something. I've had a heart-shaped leaf land right on my windshield, stuff like that. These aren't coincidences. They're little thank you love notes from nature, when they know you're giving back, or you're putting good stuff out. Also, like if you go with intention, I did this once to clean some stuff up at a park. It was during the COVID, so not many people around, but there were enough that there was like trash here and there. So I thought, yeah, you know what? I put it in my mind out there. I said, because there's a lot of trees and stuff around. I said, hey guys, not sure what I think about fairies, but I'm trying to get into knowing that you're there. And I said, so here, I'm going to pick some of these things up. And I just want to let you know that, appreciation, respect to you, all of you out here. And I made a little loop around the area. And I came back to this picnic bench where I had started, and I sat down, and there was not this bright little pink case, like a little kid's, I don't know what was in there, but like half of a little pink case was right by my feet. And that was not there before. And there was nobody else walking in the area. I was the only one. And so these are the kinds of love notes from nature. There was a literal love note coming back saying, thank you, we appreciate you, right? And that's in the lore too, that if you do something nice in nature, the fairies appreciate it and they'll let you know. Oh, and Saratesa's and feathers. Yes, love that heart-shaped rocks. Beautiful. Yes, very true. Yeah, and if you've experienced it, you know, and you know. And if you don't know yet and want to learn, play with this stuff. No harm, no foul. Just try it. Can't hurt, that's for sure. And Rita says, we want to raise the positive vibes of collective consciousness, not the negative. I agree with you 100%. Absolutely. Sarah says 100%. Rita's talking to Sarah saying 100%. And it is said, too, that just one of us being positive, really feeling it and wishing for a loving way, even if we don't know exactly how to go about it, just the intent works exponentially huge. So just one of us that is intending well, even if we're not quite there emotionally, or like, say I'm having a bad day and I'm like, I wish well, but man, I feel like I'm in the dumps. Even that counts. And just one of us is like, with a loving heart, I forget how many times exponentially higher and more it goes out than one person doing evil. So really, just being here is what we're here for. Anything else that we do on top of it that's following our passion, so to speak, you may not know what that is. Mine kind of got robbed from me. I don't know what happened to it. I used to have it in spades. And lately I'm just like, I'm doing these shows. It's fun. But, even if you're not sure, just by virtue of our presence, our presentness here, presence is present from wherever the God spark is, right? We are now here. Just our being here is anchoring love and, spreading it out. And that's, so if anyone's having kind of a bad day or wondering or second guessing your whole life, don't. Just by virtue that you're here and breathing and a loving person, that's it. Everything else is icing on the cake, so to speak. And Sarah T says, oh, I love that. A love note from nature. So beautiful said. Oh, thanks. And I really felt it too. That's the thing. We can see it. And people say, oh, well, maybe it was there. You didn't see it before. No, I didn't. But above that, it's like they say in the Star Wars, I have to refer that. It's a feeling universe. It's not like, oh, what I see, because what we know to be the greatest thing is things we can't see. So I'm not going to always go scientific. I mean, I have a very strong technical background, artistic background, cultural, whatever background that I love to work with amongst different cultures and bridge the differences, especially through languages. But I don't need science to prove anything to me when I know it. Now, do I want to ignore science? No. But I think, again, this is one of the ways that those who wish to oppress us are trying to divide us, saying it has to be science or not. No, we need to, not need to. It's a beautiful thing when we can take a little bit of everything that life has to offer and put everything together. It's not one exists and the other doesn't. They all exist at the same time, and it's okay. And if somebody's passion is just to do this, okay. But again, hold the beliefs loosely, keep an open mind. Same thing over here. Ooh, I really feel it in here. Yeah, but I can also look at the technical data. It's all here for us to play with and wonder. It's just all different tools in our toolkit, So anyway, and I just want to, I'll read these two. Thank you, Rita. She says, you're a beautiful light. One of these, thanks. And you shine for all to see. Thank you so much. And all of you do too. I'm so grateful that you're here, even listening to this. And whether you agree or not, or anything lands or not, but I see it does, so that makes me happy. Who knows where any of this might, come up later, or somebody else might be questioning something, and any one of these things that I have in my slides, you might say, oh, go look at that. Doesn't even have to be my channel. Oh, go look at this video. It talks about this, right? All right. Well, I've chattered on enough. But I will do a few cards if anybody wants to stay around for that. What I'm going to do is hold up. There's a really nice deck. I've thrown all these papers here. It's called the Enchanted Art Oracle Cards. I've held them up before, I think. This is the back side of the Oracle card. And they all have like beautiful classical illustrations and things, and with a little message on the bottom. So what I did was I separated out of the deck the ones that were more mermaid intensive and fairy intensive, because they have both. And I'm just going to hold them up one by one rather quickly. And then I have a couple other decks. I may just pull one card each from like 3 decks if anyone wants to stick around for it. If not, I'll do it anyway for the recording, and let's just see what happens. So I'm going to start off with let's start off with the fairies, shall we? So this one I'm going to put up because for 4th of July being celebrated right here and now in the US, this has fireworks. So there we have, did I say fairy? I pulled the wrong one. Oh, well, we'll start off with her and then we'll go to fairies. So here we have a mermaid, and she is embracing the fireworks. And she's looking at it with childlike wonder and says, choose what makes you happy. So that's a beautiful message right there. Now we'll get into some of these are famous fairies, famous classical paintings. This one, we'll look at the image first. So that's a pretty famous painting, although I forgot the painter again. I got to look it up. But here's a woman, and then we've got all these little fairies. They're making a ring around her. It's really beautiful. Message here is follow your dreams and help will find you in unforeseen ways. What a beautiful message that one is. All right, here's another one, fairy. That's another famous painting. Make your own magic. Then we have this one. This is the one, I think those are irises. The blue things in the field. That one's a really beautiful mood. And again, check out with fairies. Some have butterfly wings. Some have angel wings. Oh, hey, welcome, Choose. Here you're in the house. Good to see you. Check out the different shaped wings, how big they are. And then, the beautiful flowers. That's a beautiful mood. That's like a nice relaxing mood, like for right now. Then we have this one's a little more contemplative. That's a nice wash technique and highlight technique. Really pretty. And that says, my hand's out of the way, your talents and gifts are calling you. And that one I'll just stop for a minute because it's almost like she's at a cave. Oh, you know what? I forgot to talk about one of the caves. I'm going to go back to that slide too, real quick to make sure it's in the show. But anyway, look at that. There's a lyric to a song by Sting. I think that the song is called Inside, and I think it's from the Sacred Love album. And there's this is reminding me because she's holding like a box, and she's like, should I open it? Not in a Pandora box kind of way, but she's just kind of like, I have this treasure, but I don't know. And for me, the song, there's a lyric in that song that goes, my head is a box of stars I'm too afraid to open, or something like that. Anyway, I got to look that up, but it just reminded me, is that how it goes? Inside my head's a box of stars, something to open. I'll look it up and clarify that later. But anyway, something about a box of stars, opening it up, like, let's not hold that magic in. let's open up our gifts and let them, don't be afraid of where they might lead us, but embrace it. And here's another one, more of like a little cherub and fairy scene. It says, listen to the still small voice within. Now we'll get to some of there are fewer mermaid cards. I have 4 of these. So here's, this one's pretty cool. I like it that she's like a serpent rider, a sea serpent rider. A lot of really cool energy in that card. I really love the heck out of that one. And it says, the very thing that challenges you can be transformed into your greatest strength. Hallelujah. I usually never say that word, but this one, absolutely. Like, we can transmute anything. And I like this card because the message is, if you jump in the water, are you going to let stagnant water like affect you negatively? Or are you going to jump in and change up that water? That's the energy of this. I know what I'd vote for. The jump in and change it. Don't let it change you. Then we've got this one. This is a pretty famous painting. And again, with the hair comb and self-care, mermaids really do embody self-care, at least through all the depictions, So spend some time on self-care. Definitely do it. I need to do that myself. And this one, a lot of depictions show mermaids in threes. And here we've got the lyre, we've got the pearls, we've got the big clamshell, and we have and little stars, sea stars, starfish below. Listen to your inner music. And then we have one more on the mermaid side. This one's pretty, I think that's pretty well known too. And this one is, don't push the river, let it flow. I think that speaks volumes for itself, right? Okay, so that's out of this deck. And then I just have a couple more decks, 3 more decks. This one, if you're not familiar with it, some of you may be, this is actually really, if you love fairies, you would love this deck. The fairy tarot cards. I mean, look at that image. And this one, I'm just going to randomly, it's big because it's like the 78 tarot cards. But the backs, have that same, cover image, just really beautiful. And I'm just going to put up a few here. So one of them, before I even came on, I was shuffling just to refresh the decks. And one fell on the floor. And I was just going to leave it on the floor. I'm like, I'll leave it. But then I thought, nope, let me make this the intro deck to the card. And it's the happiest card in the deck. As they say, it's number 19 or a 10 or a 1. And it's the sun. So what a beautiful way to, like, this is the... what I want to say, like, gosh, I'm missing a lot of words. I don't know if all of you are going through that too. The energies are so high running around on this planet right now that it's like, I swear, zapping like the typical vocabulary. I think part of that too is because we are moving into, whether slowly, slow drip wise or not, we're going to be moving toward telepathy. And I'm a firm believer that some of us that are losing some words here and there, it's not to do with age or memory loss. It's just that eventually we're going to be so wanting to talk and share stuff that, and with a loving heart, that it just is going to come through energetically as telepathy or energy fields. And that's where we're headed, is where we're going to be returning to a time of telepathy. And telepathy can't fully take hold until more of us are into that loving frequency than in the negative. Because you don't want to read into somebody's thoughts or have them read into you if they're coming with negative intention, and you don't want to read theirs and get that negativity. So we all need to come into a more loving way, so there's nothing to hide. So you can read my, thoughts, or I can read you, and it's no big deal because we're not hiding anything, right? Doesn't it make sense? Anyway, back to this. So if I lose some words, it's just that energy is running high. There's a lot to share, and it just does that. They go missing, the words, sometimes. Anyway, look at this. The sun. This is a male figure with beautiful gossamer wings. We even have the unicorn energy, which, funnily enough, unicorn I thought was going to be the topic of the day. And nope, the fairies and the mermaids came in. So we've got this, and we've got, look at the horse's back hind legs. They're going over the wall, but they almost look like they're going interdimensional. And we've got all these beautiful flowers and stuff. So anyway, great energy. The trumpet sounding out. That's the, don't, die with your music inside. Whatever you got to share, share it. Don't worry about anything. Don't be self-conscious. Just, be you. Be authentically you. Oh, and Sarah, beautiful emojis, love hearts and fairies and stuff. Rita says beautiful. Sarah T says the 3 makes me think of healing in groups. Absolutely. And Rita says, beautiful picture. And Sarah says, we are in the year of the horse. True. Unicorn, right? All those kinds of energies. And the unicorn, maybe that will come up next week. I don't know. But Here, I'm just going to not read everything. I'm just going to randomly show you, not all of 78, but just a few of the artwork of this. Just if anybody's considering, you know, it's all has to do, obviously, with the fairies. And I'm not going to speak. I'm just going to hold them up, and maybe something, a message will come to you just by looking at the images. I'm going to do a couple more. And we'll do one more. So it just gives you an idea of the deck. And there's, you know, things at the top, the overall kind of cheat sheet message, quick ones, and a little more detail. And you know what? I feel like let me just have one more pop out of the deck, and we'll close on that one. And then I'll just show you real quick 2 other decks, which I think a lot of you may have seen already. But we're on the mermaid and fairy theme. Okay, here we go. And I forgot, at the very end, I'll hold up the orca stones for people who haven't seen those. Okay, so this one is the Ace of Summer. Oh, look at that. And actually, this reminds me a little bit of Sarah T's beautiful drawing, because we've got the beautiful lily pads and lotus feel going on there. So we have Ace of Summer. I'm just zooming in a little bit. Magical sparkles, of course, have to be wherever fairies are. And it says, open your heart to love, the beginning of a new intimate relationship or the rebirth of a current one, the awakening of psychic abilities or spiritual epiphanies. And again, we talk about these things with the relationships and love, and if that applies to you, yes. But there's some people where that's not really applying. So that can just be a love of nature, you know, generating or getting something new going, whether it's, I don't want to use the word career or work anymore. It's, you know, we're moving into a time where we're following the flow, but it's nothing that's drudgery. And if you're currently into something that lights you up, that could be considered like the 9 to 5, great. But for a lot of us, quote unquote, like I said at the beginning, free spirits, you know, celebrating freedom and free spirits today, that just won't do anymore. And so maybe it's kind of like a rebirth of a new relationship with our life going forward, because now we're not having a relationship with 3D anymore. We're moving toward a new relationship with 5D. And I love the bird. It's just a reminder of the messengers out there, all the elementals and the winged figures who connect us with our loved ones. You know, that one, that white dove, you know, you may see a white dove if you've had a loved one pass and they're bringing messages. It said that our loved ones on the other realm, they're just in a different frequency. They could be standing right near me. You know, you might not see them if you don't see that frequency. But they can also interact and send messages through birds. Like a couple of my family members who passed recently, they come in the form of cardinals. Some people, it's hummingbirds, common one. Also, Rita mentioned earlier, we were talking about things like fireflies and dragonflies. So anyway, and you feel something behind it. Or you get that, we were also talking about love notes from nature. They can be from the elementals, but they can also be from your ancestors or people who have transitioned on. So I've talked about that before, where I got a direct message, and it came in the form of an ibis feather. And there was nothing else around. There was no flock around. And I had looked, and the grass was totally pristine, nothing on it. I had, you know, held my heart, wished well for somebody, and I looked down, and there was this ibis feather, and I knew who it was from in my family. Another family member had passed, and something said, go look at go open the blinds at the corner of the house. I'm like, this is a weird thing to do. Okay. You know, it's nothing I normally would do. So I went and opened the blinds, and sure enough, stuck to the window and the glass on the other side is this massive lizard I never even knew existed on the planet. It was turquoise. I forget the name of it. It's a tokay, I think, a tokay gecko, like some kind of Indonesian exotic gecko. And I'd never seen one in this, you know, area of this house where I was for decades, ever in my whole life. And in fact, it took me a long time to find out what it even was. And here's this thing grinning like a fool, you know, really cute, had like a Kermit the Frog face. And I'm like, what the heck is this thing? I mean, it was sizable. It's like this, and it's got the little circles on the pads sticking to the window. And it was like this beautiful, almost like this color on the top of this card, you know, like a beautiful, yeah, what's that color? Turquoise. and it had like these orange brownish spots all over it. So look that up. It's pretty cool. If I remember, I'll put it in the description area below. But that was completely a sign from a loved one who had passed, because they really loved Halloween and it was on Halloween. And I'm like, what is this? So these things are very real, and these messages, So, and let's see. And just in the chat, and forgive me if I pass over, but Rita's laughing at something. Rita says unicorn love, and she's laughing. That's right, unicorn love. And Sarah says so special, very powerful. And Sarah says, we had white butterflies as a symbol of I'm okay, I'm with you, message of past loved one. Yeah. And again, and Sarah's putting all the beautiful sparkly magic stars. It's like, yeah, when you feel there's something a little more behind it. It's not like, oh, I just happened to walk by and there's a feather, oh, coincidence. You feel something, like there's a message there. Even if you don't know what the message is right when you're seeing it, you can just kind of get quiet and like ask within, tell, silently, like, okay, I get it. It just means something. Help me see what this means. And then you'll get another clue later on, or you'll just know, right? Like I walked out of my door and I've never in my entire life seen an owl feather, pristine owl feather right there, off on the ground. And I'm like, okay, I don't know who this is from, but I know it means something, so I put it out there again, out to nature. Hey, is it anybody out here elemental wise, or is it ancestors? What? And that one took me a couple days to kind of, like they say, marinate in it and kind of feel it out and get the message there. So, we can always ask if we're not sure, like kindly show me, universe, or whoever you want to, connect with, what does this mean? Right. All right. So, okay. Well, I think, I said I would hold up the orca agate. And if anyone has anything else to say, now's the time to do it in chat. And if not, I will, I guess, sign off on these pieces. So orca agate, if you're not familiar, I love this stuff, as I've said before. It's black and white, a crystal, and it's only found in Madagascar, supposedly. However, when anyone says this crystal is only found in a certain region, I think too, well, who knows? Maybe it's somewhere else. We just haven't found it yet. But this is a palm stone. I like getting the palm stones, just working with them, especially if you're going to do any crystal healing. I just like, the way they are. This is a tumbled or polished stone. It's not the raw state of one. But anyway, you get to see it. Just definitely does not evoke an orca to you. If it doesn't, I have one that you can't look away from. Yes, it will absolutely evoke orca if I hold it in the right way. There we go. Doesn't that look like a orca coming up out of the water? Look at that thing. Isn't it beautiful? So each of them have a different, personality and different, markings. And this one's got a nice weight to it. And like I always say, if you're going to order online with any of these things, really like triple check the dimensions, because you don't want to have a picture close up making it look really big, and then you get something like the size of a chip, right? Anyway, this turned out to be really nice, and you can select crystals offline, getting them online. You can feel into it. If it seems like one that's good, you'll feel it. But also, if there are any local gem or mineralogy shows, those are great too, to walk through, support your local people, and also, find some gems, pun intended. And then this one, so this is called just like freeform. This one's kind of wavy a little bit. And this one is called flame. So they come in all different shapes. So it's got like grooves on it. I'm not a fan of this shape so much, but I thought I would get it. And also, as I've said before, sometimes there's little occlusions of different minerals and things in there. But this one's more gray, and this is considered a chalcedony, for anyone that means anything to. But look at the difference. So actually, I'm going to flip it around. Hang on. Put it over here. So this one's a little more like dolphin looking, like grayish compared to this. See how true and black that is? So they come in different intensities of the black. So for me, it was important to get like the one thing that looked more like an orca, but this can be good too. So again, different stones will speak to you in different ways and at different times. So just go with your intuition on that. Okay. Oh, and Sarah says, I can see whale spirits. Beautiful. Oh, excellent. Yeah, and actually, I know we're like, that's going off into another territory with whale, but I just felt with ocean and everything, it deserved to be in the mix. And I just brought this. This is like a glass paperweight. I don't even remember when I got it. Actually, I don't even remember getting it. So that was a surprise. But I just wanted to bring this up because that one scene that I was showing you of that mermaid going over the rock, it's just the way the tail, this reminds me, like it's bent down. And, the tail was bent down too. So again, with that video, and I'll put that one, I'll probably put the link in the post after the show at some time. Give me time to do it. You'll just see that fluid movement and the way that tail moved. It just seemed too real to be fake to me anyway. And if somebody faked it, damn, they did a good job. But again, based on something that really happened, I believe. Okay. So is everybody good? I hope wherever you're at right now, you're having a beautiful right now. And speak now. Oh, nope. I keep saying I'm going to go. You guys are invited to go. I'm going to do 2 more things, and then I really will sign off. I have 2 more decks I said I was going to show you. So here's another one. This is the magical, what is it? Magical Mermaids and Dolphins. And that's the back. And then this is a sample of the front. This one just says protection. You, your loved ones, and your possessions are safe and protected by heaven. So that's a nice message. And that's just one I pulled off the top. So now I'll shuffle. I'll pull 1 card from here and 1 card from the last deck. And I'm not doing an intuitive hits on them. I'm kind of just reading them straight out just because the show's now going to 2 hours and we're going to wrap up, okay? But another time, if anyone's interested in that, more of a read for the collective, I'll do it. But I'm just feeling let's do a one and go. So let's just see. We'll do whatever's the best and highest for our good. And also, actually, while I'm in the mid-shuffle, keep throwing this out. One more thing I wanted to show is a book reference. Anyone in the U.S., you might not be familiar with this. If you're in Australia or England, you probably know about it. I never heard of it in my life until like in the last few years, some friends from those other 2 places told me about it. There's a children's book series by Enid Blyton called The Faraway Tree. This is one of the examples, the Enchanted Wood, since we were talking about fairies. And it says, climb the faraway tree and discover magical lands with Moonface, Saucepan Man, and Silky the Fairy. So if you're from England or Australia, you probably know all about this. But for anybody in the U.S., if you want to dive into these little kids' books, it's, again, the Faraway Tree series, okay? All right, so let's get back to our mermaid and this deck, and then we'll do 1 more deck, and we'll close it out. Okay. Oh, Sarah says, I love her book, so you're already familiar. I only know that 1 book, and it's nice. It's fun to read books from other countries and cultures that you're not familiar with. Oh, Rita, thank you. Rita says, were you going to say something about a cave? Yes, I was. Thank God for chat. See, I love your help reminding me of these things. Okay, I will get to that about the cave. All right, here we go. Here's our card from the Magical Mermaids and Dolphins. This is a beautiful card. Have faith. Your prayers are manifesting. Remain positive and follow your guidance. Look at that. Look at that energy. We're just going to bust out of stagnant water, and look to the sky. Look at how those clouds are illuminating behind her. It's just a really exquisite card. All right, so have faith. That's a big one, right? Easy to say sometimes, but we've really got to make that our go-to. Like, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I know something's got me. It just has to work. Even if you're at faith at that level, like, it just has to. All right, hang on. So we'll do 1 more from this one's coming from the Mermaid Tarot. This one, some of you may already know of. This is the back of the cards. And this, I'll just show you the box while I have it. It's a pretty solid book. That's the cover. And this one's pretty cool. Let me just see what comes out of this one. We'll just do 1 card. And then I'll get to the cave. Oh, yeah, and Sarah T says, yes, always reread her book with family, so the Faraway Tree. I don't know, Sarah, have you done the Enchanted Wood one? I don't know how many books she has. I just happen to like that one for the cover. All right. Okay, here we go. This is now from the Mermaid Tarot. And we have a blonde mermaid, and it says the Fool. And the Fool is, as they say, the new beginnings card. And look at all that's either sparkles following her aura. Look at her face her whole posture is like, let's do this. She's got her staff. She's going to pick it up and just walk on, onto land. No fear there in her stance. So, beautiful new things forward, even if we don't know what they're going to be. It's having the attitude of let's bring it. I come equipped. Whatever I might face, I'm ready to handle it, and it's going to be good. That's a stance of optimism, We've got all the lucky stars around her, and that's kind of like a no turning back, wind in the hair. Everything's moving in her favor, and that's where we're at. So the Fool, it's kind of funny. It's like we're not being a fool. We're taking on the attitude of the Fool, where like what you don't know can't hurt you. You know, you're not looking for the traps and the things to sabotage you. You're moving on like, hey, I got a lucky star over my head. Ain't nothing gonna, deter what I'm doing. So it's really great positive energy. Have faith and go forward boldly. This is not time like sheepishly to, oh, maybe I should blend in. No, own it, own the room. Walk in sparkling and shining. Even if you just don't say a word, just walk in and just think it. Like I'm uplifting this room. I've mentioned it before, and I will. I got to go to the cave. I'll go to the cave. But one more example. You can just show up at a hospital. Say you have to visit a loved one. You can just show up there like every day. Okay, I check in. Which never used to be a thing, but that's another story. But I'll go in. I'll punch the elevator, or I'll walk up the stairs, and I'll find the room of my loved one. And you go about your day to day. Oh, maybe on my way out, I'll get a coffee or something to drink, go to my car, and leave. Or we can remember to move in that building with intention. Walk through those doors, shining out the energy from your heart space, imagining in your mind's eye sunshine, golden healing light uplifting that entire hospital, whether it's patients or the workers or the person taking out the trash or the person in the cafeteria. Sunshine up for everybody, sunshine vibes. I started doing that in my own personal, story with some loved ones in the hospital, and it was felt. I just can say it simply as that. I went and sat in a room. There was a nurse coming in who I hadn't met before. She opens the door after I had done that with intention, and she said, she didn't know me from anybody, and she goes, whoa, the energy just feels so good in here. So keep that in mind. and the thing that we have to do is just remember to do it, which is like half the battle, right? Anyway, let me get to the cave by Rita's kind reminder here. Hold on. I just have to find it. Thank you so much for reminding me. It was on this slide. So in my post section, I show the part of the Sahara in Egypt that borders Libya and Sudan. Okay. And that's the Valley of the Pictures, or Wadi Sura. I think I said it right. It's where they filmed the English Patient that I was talking about. So there's a cave called the Cave of Swimmers. The image I'm going to show you here is just a fraction of what kind of wild art is on those caves, okay? I'm showing you the tame imagery. The cave is also called the Cave of Beasts. That's what I'm talking about. You'll see for a reason. So I highly invite you, highly recommend you go look at this Valley of the Pictures, these caves at Wadi Sura, because I think you're going to have a mind-expanding moment. And see if you can figure out what the heck the creatures are. They're really an enigma. It's like a head scratcher, like what the heck is going on here? But I'm going to show you the part that's kind of more obvious. So the cave has a bunch of figures. They don't look like mermaids at first blush. You look and some look like they have legs, and it just looks like swimmers. But here you are in the middle of the desert. So they're saying like there's a big basin in front of this cave that once was filled with water. Obviously, you're not going to have a desert cave with sands and have depicting swimmers if there's no water around. And so that's another thing that's going to be happening, right? We're learning more and more with the revelations and truths coming to the surface that a lot of these deserts were once filled with water. Look at everyone talking about shells embedded at the base of the Sphinx, the pyramids of Giza. That shows that there was water there at one time. And so some are saying that in the years to come, now as we shift toward the 5D, we're going to start to see water welling up in places where it's like a desert or places you don't normally see. I even put in my post section a cool little video. It's like an Italian guy taking a tour, and he goes, oh, centro nel centro, l'acqua. So he's saying in the center of the desert, there it is, there's water. And they're driving along in a Jeep, there's Egyptian music going, and then they look over and there's the classic quintessential oasis with, a round pool of water and the palm trees around in the middle of the desert. So that I posted that because it's not where this is, but it just look cool. Anyway, here's the cave wall. So here's a very tiny, tiny, tiny part of the overall bigger scene. But what do you think those are? So they kind of look human. So in this case, I don't know. It's like a big, they have the joke with the cats, like a chonker body with the skinny arms and weird neck and face, right? And then, well, look at this. Is this two legs like just hidden behind each other? Is that a tail? And look at this thing. You know, is that more than two front, arms? Is that like a leg or, a couple legs on the side? Or is that just weird? Is it just arms, the head, but yet maybe a tail or a funky way that the legs are going back? So this one, like I said, Cave of Swimmers, look it up, Wadi Sura, Egypt, Sahara Desert. It's down in the southwest corner by Libya and the Sudan. Take a look. I forget the name of the desert. It's like Gelf Kabir or something like that. So again, I wouldn't know any of this stuff. It's really well worth looking at the whole image though, because there's some weird beasts. There's like this big beast, and you can't quite see the head, and there's figures around it. I don't know. Maybe we do another show that's all about cave paintings. We'll see where everything goes. But it's interesting. That's why I'm putting a drop and go to go check it out. I never knew about any of these places except for the cave one where I showed the fairy until I got into this topic. So anyway, all right, all you lovely people, I think that's it. Unless somebody has any one last minute thing to say or card requests, if you want to see another card. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up till next time, right? Okay, I think we're good. Yes? All right, everyone. Well, tremendous peace and love to all of you. And again, whatever you might be going through, hopefully it's good and high vibed. If it is, take it and run with it. So all of us that are maybe, trying to get there, you exponentially put it out in the world. And if we're low vibe, no worries. We have time to get there. Just wake up, breathe, and just, intend that it's going to be a good day and that we have help in the unseen. You can ask for help too. No shame in that. I usually wake up saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, God, even if I'm feeling like crap. And I just keep sitting there until I can feel it. Thank you, thank you, thank you, God. And then I also just say, hey, my team, my divine team, God, Jesus, galactic family, people who have recently passed, ancestors, just everyone, guardian angels, guardian angelics, be here with me now. Be here present. Love, be here present. God, be here present. And if you just start like moving through all of that, you eventually can get into your day, even if it's starting off not so great, right? So Rita says, Sarah says, thank you. I thank you. Rita says, hope everyone has a great week. And thank you, Varleigh. Great live stream. Thank you. Sarah says, bye, everyone. Thank you, Varleigh. And I thank all of you. So hugs all around. Have a gorgeous weekend, and go get that week. Until next time, best wishes, guys and girls. Bye.